All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our third session. And before we get started today, just a big thank you for all of you who've actually completed the survey, who've taken the time to do that. It's so important here at the Oxley Institute. We're constantly doing research on the affluent and on advisors, and it's really important to us that we get enough survey responses, and we did, of course, thanks to your help. So we really appreciate that, and again, that's why you're a part of this series. Now, I'm the third session. I'm the final one here. And today it's all about social selling. It's all about building relationships online. And I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the technology component of social media that we forget that social media is just people, right? There's people on the other side of it. And if we use it effectively, we can deepen existing relationships and we can find new relationships as well. I happen to have written a book. I co-authored it with Matt Oxley called The Indispensable LinkedIn Sales Guide for Financial Advisors. I'm going to share some tips from that book today, but we're also going to hit upon just a little bit of Facebook and a little bit of Twitter as well. Now, one of the common questions we get is, well, what's the ROI of social media? And I'm typically getting this question when we're talking to a firm, we're talking to some kind of marketing head at that firm, and they said, okay, we get it. You're going to come in and teach our advisors how to use social media. What's the ROI? It depends, right? I mean, it's like, what's the ROI of a hammer? What's the ROI of a basketball? It depends who you give it to, right? You give basketball, obviously, to this unfortunate gentleman right here. Not very good ROI. You give it to Steph Curry. Amazing ROI, right? It's just a tool, right? And it's something that you have to get good at. It's something that you have to practice, and over time you can get better at. But I'm telling you, the way we communicate is absolutely changed, right? We're and really each social network has its own use case. And I want you to think about that today. I want you to think about the culture of the networks as we start getting into them, because LinkedIn, very different than Twitter, very different than Facebook, right? Why do we use LinkedIn? To grow professionally. We have to keep that in mind. Why do we use Facebook? To connect with friends and family. Why do we use Twitter? To stay up to date on the latest news. So you kind of have to keep that stuff in mind as you're using each of these. I can't go on Facebook and start really heavily prospecting. Now, I can do some advertising on Facebook, and I might hit upon that just a little bit today. But I can, on the flip side of that, I can go on LinkedIn and I can prospect and I can look for very targeted introductions. So again, we're going to go through the big three. No Snapchat today. No Peach. If you're wondering what the heck Peach is, it's a brand new social network. There's so many that are popping up. But we're going to focus on the big three. LinkedIn. This is kind of what I want to take you through with LinkedIn. I'm going to take you through an advocate search, some advanced searches that I like, talk a little bit about introductions and and the publisher feature too, which I think is a really powerful feature on LinkedIn. Now, I got a couple questions in advance today. Obviously, we're not doing Q&A in the series, but I had a couple questions in advance. One saying, hey, what about someone who's new to the area and doesn't have any connections? Well, you need to start building some connections on LinkedIn. And I don't care if you start connecting to prospective clients. I don't care what you do, but you have to have some connections to run any of these searches. You're not going to get any results if you don't. So you need some connections first. That's important. Now, the connections, just so you know, don't necessarily have to be in your area, because when we run an advanced search, we can target prospects, second-degree connections who are actually in our area. So let's go live to LinkedIn here, and we'll pull it up. And here we go. You can see my LinkedIn profile. I'll pull that up right here. And what I'm going to do is again, I'm focusing on the selling component. I'm just going to give you some tips today. First thing I want to walk you through is what we call an advocate search. An advocate search on LinkedIn is when you pick one particular person that you're connected to. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a good client, maybe it's a CPA or an attorney or someone that you're building a relationship with, and we dive into their connection base. And we're going to look for very targeted introductions, people that they can introduce us to. Now, why introductions? Because our research year after year comes out that that's one of the top ways that advisors are bringing in business. The credibility transfer that happens when you get personally introduced is unreal, right? So Step one of this process, go to the profile of the introducer, whoever it might be, or the advocate. And so we're going to go to Charlie Van Derven's profile, right? He's one of our social media coaches. We're going to pull him up. And here's Charlie's profile. Step one, go to their profile. Step two, click on their number of connections. You can see Charlie here has 500 plus connections. I'm going to click on that. That's going to drop you down to a section on their profile that looks exactly like this. One caveat though, if you get here and all you see are shared connections, then that person's connection base is hidden, right? They've decided that they want to protect their connection base, which I'll tell you, very few people actually do that on LinkedIn because the default on LinkedIn is that your connection base is open. So again, with Charlie, his connection base is not hidden. I'd go to his profile. Next step is I would click on the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner, click on that. And here I can run a keyword search within Charlie's connection base. And I can search for a particular title, a phrase, a company, whatever it might be, I can search for it here. And in this case, I'm going to put in the word owner. Hit enter. There we go, 236 results here. Still, a lot of results. Now, this is an important next step. What I can do now is I can click on this advanced search. That's not available until you run some sort of preliminary keyword search first. So again, I ran a search for owner. Now I can click on advanced, and it should say at the very top here, connections of Charlie Van Derven. There we go. And now I can apply some of these advanced filters. And, by relationship, by location, that one's going to be helpful. Company is helpful if you're not looking for business owners, right? Industry, that one might be helpful. So let's say location. I'm going to click on Daytona Beach. There we go. Now I'm down to 35 people. Not bad. I can definitely go through that list. Maybe industry is important to me, and I'm going to click on management consulting or financial, obviously not financial services, education management, whatever it might be. Now I'm down to 2 people. In a matter of seconds, I can determine who Charlie knows, who I want a personal introduction to. This is the type of information that would take years of conversations with Charlie to uncover who he knows. But now, with a couple clicks, I can identify people that Charlie can personally introduce me to. Here's another tip for you, though. One of the issues you're going to run into when you start implementing this type of strategy is that Charlie doesn't know all of his connections that well. Focus on people with smaller networks when you're orchestrating this strategy. Charlie has 500 plus connections. He probably maybe doesn't know Ned well enough. I don't know if he knows Rachel well enough to introduce me. But if he had 100, 150, or 200 connections, I bet he knows those people well enough to introduce me. You can tell a lot about how someone uses LinkedIn based on their number of connections. So, again, this is a great strategy in advance of a client meeting, in advance of a meeting with a CPA or attorney, or really anyone that you want an introduction through. And introductions are so powerful because of that credibility transfer when Charlie goes to Ned and says, hey, Ned, I don't know if you're working with anyone. I think you should talk to Kevin. He's fantastic. Can I introduce you to him? Is it okay if I put you in touch with him? That's the advocate search. The next search I want to take you through is a broader advanced search. And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see this little link that says advanced. Click on that. Now, this is LinkedIn's advanced people search. One other key point today. Everything I'm showing you with LinkedIn is with the free version of LinkedIn. I'm not showing you something that's special because I have a premium account, but I'm showing you stuff with the free version. So this is the advanced people search. Now, I can run a search on LinkedIn through my entire network. So advocate search, I picked one person, dove into their network. This search, I'm going through my entire connection base to see what I can find. Now, I can run a search based on certain keywords on their profile, based on a first name, a last name, a title, a company that they work for, a school they went to, if that's important, location to me, relationship to me. First degree meaning I already know them. Second degree means I know someone who knows them. Group members, third, and everyone else. That's going to be a broader, more colder strategy, which we're not going to be talking about today. Industry as well. And then over here, you can see, and these are the premium filters. I'm not even going to use these right now. Here's my recommendation. Start thinking about your ideal prospective client in LinkedIn searchable terms. When you do that, you can find them. Because a lot of times when we think about our ideal client, we think about things like, well, they have X amount in investable assets, or we think about psychographic things like they're easy to deal with, they take my advice, they're a pleasant person. Okay, I can't search for that stuff. But if you want to say, you want to target executives at Pfizer who live in Philly, we can do that, right? So get specific. Now, one of our favorite searches we're going to share with you today is a money in motion type search. There's so many people on LinkedIn who are in between jobs. That means there might be a potential rollover opportunity that you can help them with. So if that's the case, what we have to do is think creatively about how someone describes himself on LinkedIn if they're in between jobs. There's no checkbox here that says, oh yeah, just check on the people who are in between jobs, right? I wish it was that easy. It's not. But what we can do is think, okay, if I'm on LinkedIn, I'm in between jobs, how do I describe myself? Do I say Kevin is unemployed? No. Right? That's a pretty lousy way to describe yourself. Again, I'm probably on here trying to network and find a new job. So I say, Kevin is seeking a new challenge. Kevin is looking for a new opportunity. Kevin is in transition, right? There's a number of terms you could use there. So what I'm going to do in the keywords section here is I'm going to put in the term new opportunity as an example. I'm going to put it in quotes. The reason I put it in quotes is I want that exact phrase. If I don't, LinkedIn will search for the word new separately. It'll search for the word opportunity separately. I need it in that exact phrase in that exact order. Next, I'm going to plug in my location. I'm going to put in my location here in North Carolina. Again, when you run this search, you'll run it with your own location. Then I can say how close or how far I want these people to be from my location. So I could say down to 10 miles up to 100. For the sake of the search, I'm going to say 50, kind of right in the middle there. And then relationship to me, first, second, group, third. I'm going to pick first, which means I know them. I'm connected. Second means I know someone who knows them, which is going to be the sweet spot for personal introductions. I'm going to run that search. Let's see what I get. And my network here, 63 people, not bad. John here, seasoned IT business development recruiting professional seeking a new opportunity. 7 shared connections, which is nice. I can click on the 7 shared connections. I have 7 people who I know who know John. And my sister actually went to school with Kristen here. I mean, that's perfect. Irma here, searching for a new opportunity. Again, 2 shared connections. Rachel, sales guru, seeks new opportunity. I always question anyone who calls themselves a guru. 9 shared connections, though. Look at this. So, again, I can go through this, and I've just built a list of prospective clients. It's unreal if you take a proactive approach to it. One other key point about advanced searches, because I'm just showing you this one example today. You can click on this Save Search link, upper right-hand corner, and you can set up what are called profile match alerts. I can have LinkedIn go in automatically on a weekly or a monthly basis and run this specific search for me and email me the new result. It doesn't send me this list of 63 people every time. It just sends me the new people who meet that criterion. That is fantastic. Puts them in my inbox on a weekly or monthly basis, depending upon however you set it up. Now, with the free version of LinkedIn, you can save up to 3 searches. With the paid version that I have, I can do 5, right? There's another version you can do 10, and it kind of keeps tiering up from there. Start with the free version, then you can move up or down. Okay. Now, how do you go about asking for an introduction here? So I see that Kristen here is connected to John. I want an introduction. Let me talk you through just a little bit of a process for doing this. And the first step I'd say is start planting seeds with your LinkedIn connections. I don't want my first conversation with Kristen here. Let's say Kristen's a client. I don't want my first conversation to be me asking for something. Right? It's a pretty selfish way to go about this. Instead, I want my first conversation with Kristen to be about, hey, Kristen, I know we're connected on LinkedIn. You're the staffing agency. Well, how are you using it? I bet you use it quite a bit, right? Then I might offer introductions to her, and I might say, Kristen, by the way, if I can ever introduce you to anyone, let me know. I'm happy to help. And then I plant a seed. And this is what I mean. I'd say, hey, Kristen, if I ever notice someone that you're connected to on LinkedIn, is it okay if I run them by you? And that's it. What's she going to say? Most of the time she's going to say, sure, sounds great. Now at that point, I don't pull out a list of like 10 or 15 people and push them across the table and say, well, great, here's some people that I've identified. I kind of let it sit. Then I circle back in a week or two and say, hey, by the way, Kristen, I did identify a couple people who look like the type of people we typically work with. John Preston, one in particular, we work with a lot of people who are in transition. A lot of times they need help with a rollover opportunity. Do you think he's someone I should be talking to? However you want to ask, right? Find your own style for asking. But here's the couple key points. One, I'm again, the first step, I'm not asking the first time I have a conversation with Kristen about LinkedIn. It's not me asking for an introduction. Second is I do it face-to-face or over the phone. I don't use LinkedIn's Get Introduced button. Our research on this shows that very few advisors have successfully used that button to get an introduction to a prospect. I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm having a conversation. I have emotional pull when I can have a conversation with someone about this. Okay. This is, by the way, a little uncomfortable. Introductions are, but it's extremely powerful. When Matt and I wrote this book and we did research on 917 financial advisors who basically, were actually bringing in business with LinkedIn, this is the number one way. It wasn't that they were posting the most intriguing content and that people were drawn to them magnetically and they created this sales funnel. It wasn't happening right now. May it happen in the future? Sure, I'm sure, but not yet. It's the basics of who knows who. LinkedIn amplifies that beyond belief. I do want to mention LinkedIn Publisher for 1 second as it pertains to LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn Publisher, and this is basically like a blogging platform within LinkedIn. You can see that I put up a lot of posts. I have 29 different posts. Again, this is like a blog, but what I like about Publisher as opposed to you just posting in your news feed, right? In your news feed, you know what I'm talking about. I go up here to home and I can just post an article or post something, some compliant approved material. Publisher posts are automatically pushed to all of your connections, which is nice. They get this little notification in the upper right-hand corner, a little flag, or for some of you who have more of an updated version, it's a bell. LinkedIn's always updating. And it notifies them. It's almost like an email. I love it. If you have helpful information that you can send out periodically, obviously that's through your compliance and you can do that. I think it's good to do. I don't think it's necessarily the way that you're going to bring in a ton of clients, but what I do think it does is create overall awareness. It creates a brand impression. People get more comfortable with you, and that's a good thing, right? Because when the opportunity arises and they need help, they'll think of you. I gave a presentation on LinkedIn a few months ago at the Reagan Library in Southern California, and the person who introduced me said, I've been connected to Kevin on LinkedIn for 4 years, and I've seen his posts for the past 4 years. When we needed a LinkedIn speaker, he's the first person I thought of. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because this lady who's introducing me, she never once commented, liked, or shared anything I put out. But she saw it. She saw it consistently come through. And sometimes there's this what I call silent engagement that happens, which is powerful. So keep that in mind. I love the publisher feature on LinkedIn. I think it's really helpful. And by the way, shameless plug here. If you haven't seen the Stephen and Kevin show where Stephen Boswell and myself talk about lots of different topics regarding marketing, check it out. It's on YouTube. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, and you can check it out that way as well. Those are some of my top LinkedIn tips. Now we're going to segue over to Facebook. All right. Facebook is a juggernaut. This is a giant machine, right? Billions of people. To me, this is like its own ecosystem. And right now, I don't care if from a compliance standpoint, if you say, oh, I can't do Facebook. Look, chances are, and I've worked with lots of different firms, you can have a personal Facebook account as long as you don't mention that you're a financial advisor or the firm that you're with. I almost guarantee that you can do that. Almost guarantee, right? That's not really a guarantee. It's close to it. But it's you go in with the right expectations. I'm not going on Facebook to try and sell people. What I'm trying to do on Facebook is deepen relationships. Now, except for when I'm using the advertising platform. I'm going to talk about Power Editor in a second. But just from a personal standpoint, there's a lot of value in building personal relationships with clients, personal relationships with COIs, CPAs, attorneys, anyone who refers you, personal relationships with people who are prospective clients, to the point where it's acceptable to connect with them on Facebook. I mean, if you meet a prospect for the first time out somewhere, unless you just really hit it off, it's probably not appropriate to connect on Facebook. I feel like you have to earn that right. And that's, again, there's no black and white answer there, but I'll tell you this. So if my insurance agent asked me to connect on Facebook, I would have thought that was the weirdest thing. Absolute weirdest thing. When my real estate agent recently asked me to connect, she had built such a relationship with my family, right, to the point where we had multiple interactions socially, that it was absolutely okay. And you better believe she went in and commented and liked stuff on a regular basis and created that overall awareness and really helped deepen the relationship there. All right, here's some Facebook tips for you. Now, I'm going to pull up my personal Facebook. First off, no judging, right? I'm going to pull up my my personal Facebook account, and I'm going to show you the graph search. And most people realize there's a search feature on Facebook, but they don't realize that you can search for almost anything. And so let's go back here. Okay, and here is pull up my personal Facebook. You can see a picture of my 1-year-old, and this is him making his mad face, which I absolutely love. So I had to put it up. So I'm on my personal Facebook account, and I want to use the graph search. The graph search lets you run a search up right here at the very top, and you can see my name pops in here. But I can search for tons of different things. And this is helpful when you're trying to build and deepen relationships. Most people don't realize I can go in here and run a search for like new grandson. Okay, let me run that search. And look at this. So one of my friends liked this post. What a year, new grandson and great grandson. Lucky me. Now, right here below this first post, this is important. There's a little link that says post from friends and groups. That's what I want. I want to see more of those. So I'm going to click on that. And let's see what comes up once it loads here. Give it a second. Here we go. Another one here. So excited to meet my new precious grandson. These are people that I know, right? My new grandson brings back memories. Look at this. My brand new grandson, right? My sweet grandson Sawyer, okay? What happens if you take this picture of Sawyer and you put it on a coffee cup for your client, and next time you have a review meeting, it's sitting there? You're going to knock their socks off. Also, what happens if you just come in here and comment and say, oh my gosh, Sawyer's so adorable, right? Wow, what a personality on him. This is about deepening relationships. And one of the advisors I've been working with who's really into Facebook told me, Kevin, I go in and I call it friend raising when I'm just going in with all my friends and I'm commenting and I'm doing personal things like this. Hey, what a cute picture of Sawyer here. And he said, I was just thinking about it. If they wanted to fire me as their financial advisor, I think it would be really hard for them to do that. He said, I've built so much equity with them and, on a personal level, as well as they'd have to unfriend me on Facebook, I guess. So keep that in mind. I think it's creating stickiness with the relationship. And again, look at this. I just searched for new grandson. What happens if I come in here and I search for like new job, right? Let's see what I get here. New job. Digging the new paint job. That's not obviously flies, but let's click this. More posts from friends and family. Let's see what I get here. Here's one. I start my new job tomorrow. I'm a little nervous. To those I've worked with and know it, looking for a new job. I mean, look, this is just I start my start for my new job got pushed back to at least December 7th. With the new job, we sacrificed a vacation, but blah, blah. I mean, this graph search is incredible. And you can search within your friends and friends of friends, and you'll find a lot of value in it. Go in and run some of these searches on a regular basis. Okay, my next Facebook tip is all about your news feed on Facebook. Let me go back here to my news feed, okay? Here's my news feed, and look, there's all kinds of stuff on my news feed, right? I mean, here's a picture of donuts on my news feed. Okay, you on your news feed, and you probably already figured this out. You don't see the post of every one of your friends on your news feed, not at all, right? Facebook curates that news feed for you based on who it thinks you care about most. So it obviously thinks I care about Todd here. And I mean, he's an old friend, a high school friend. Okay. So here's the thing though. If, again, with my news feed here, if it's curating it for me, I'm missing a lot of posts. And maybe I'm connected to some of my most important relationships. I don't want to miss things that they're posting, but I am, because Facebook just determined that, Kevin doesn't like, comment, and engage with him as much as he does with Todd. So I'm going to show him Todd instead. Right? There's a lot of data that shows that actually people prefer their newsfeed to be curated, but some people don't like that fact, and they just want to see a chronological order. Now, if that's the case, though, what I can do around this is create lists in Facebook. I can create a list that no one else knows about, and put people into that list, and then click on that list and just see the posts from those people. This makes sure you don't miss your most important relationships. So let me scroll back up here. You can see, you might create a list here of clients. You can see right here, I have some lists of clients here. Centers of influence, you might create a list for. Prospects, you might create a list for. It's really easy to do this. And again, now I can click on my COIs and I can see their news feed and make sure I don't miss someone from this particular group. I click on here. It's really a targeted way to make sure I go in and engage with the right people. I love lists on Facebook. Take advantage of it. Create different ones. I like COIs, clients, prospects. Again, they don't see this. They don't see that I put them in a list. It's really a way for me to organize them and make sure I'm not missing something. Power Editor. The Power Editor on Facebook is really, this is with the Facebook business page. I'm sure some of you have a business page out there. And I can't get in too much depth here, but this is what I'm going to say. Right now, you may have posted something on Facebook before on your business page. And let's say you have 100 likes on that page. You post it up and you notice you get 5 views. And you're thinking, what is going on, right? Or maybe you posted up a video or something that you really want to get more exposure on Facebook. Facebook's advertising platform is absolutely amazing because it has so much data, right? Google has a ton of data, right? And pay-per-click has been around for a long time. Facebook has really rich data. Think about all the stuff people fill out on their profiles. So what I can use with Power Editor, as opposed to, and you've probably seen this if you have a business Facebook page where you post something and it says boost your post. Well, the demographics for me to boost a post on Facebook are very limiting. However, if I use their Power Editor, which is a little more complex, you can go watch some YouTube tutorials on how to use it. You'd be amazed at the stuff that I can narrow down my demographics that I want my video to pop up on. So like, for example, if you wanted to target people who just recently got divorced, who live in your area, you can do that. If you wanted to target people who just had a son, a daughter, a grandchild, somewhat, you can do that. If you want to target people who just went on vacation recently in the past 3 months, you can do that. If you want to target, males or females in this age range who are recently divorced, who went on that vacation recently, who own a dog, right? Who like listening to the Counting Crows. Like, I'm telling you, it will blow your mind when you start seeing the capabilities of this feature. Plus, I think how much you're paying for it right now is really underrated. We as a company are using Power Editor more and more. And I mean, we can allocate 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month to it and get a ton of exposure on Facebook. Facebook ads, I think right now are totally undervalued because a lot of people don't know how to use them. And I think if you figure it out and you can crack that nut and you can do it from a compliance standpoint, you can crush it right now with Facebook ads. Okay, Twitter. Twitter, my last one here today. Oh, and I've already gone 30 minutes. I didn't even mean to do that. Hopefully you're enjoying this today. And by the way, I'd love to connect with any of you on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, happy to do that. Happy to answer your questions if you connect with me. Twitter here. Why do people use Twitter? For the latest news. Kind of keep that in mind. That's one of the number one ways that our research shows that people use Twitter. Obviously, younger generations use Twitter to communicate back and forth, almost like a mass text message and things like that. I think Snapchat's taking that over. But I want to show you a couple things here. One is lists on Twitter. We talked about lists on Facebook. You can do lists on Twitter as well. Let's pull up my Twitter account. And you're going to notice right here, I have 4 lists. Lists are helpful too. If there's certain people that you're trying to deepen and build relationships with, create a list, add people to that list. So for the Stephen and Kevin show, we take questions via Twitter using the hashtag #AskStephenandKevin. And I put people who have contributed right here. I can click on that. There's 21 members of that group right now. And I can take a look at my list members, and I can go in here at any time and see some of the people who've contributed to the show, and I can make sure I engage with them on a regular basis. These are people who are really engaged with us on Twitter, me in particular. List subscribers. Here's just I meant tweets. That's what I wanted. This is a tweets from people who have contributed to the show. This is a great way for me to go in, friend Rays and Michael Kitsis, give him a like. Veronica Dagger, Wall Street Journal reporter, give her a nice little like there too. They're people who I have determined that are important to my business or our business, and I want to go in and engage with them. And they notice. Trust me, people are starved for attention on social. They will notice it. Expand your reach using hashtags. If you're posting things and thought leadership. So here's what I'd recommend. If you're using Twitter and you're kind of getting new to Twitter, start with it in terms of, posting up things, industry related things that you want to be known for thought leadership around. Add some commentary on there. Engage with other people too. But also use hashtags to expand your reach. Find out the hashtags that your target market is looking at. Use those hashtags in your post. So like for us as a company, we use hashtags like CFP, CFA, financial advisor, spelled with an O and an E, right? We use different things like that because we know that advisors look at some of those. And so for you, you need to think about maybe it's, finance tips or money saving tips or hashtag whatever. Explore around, look at different hashtags, and you could, by the way, run a quick search for any hashtag. In the upper right hand corner, search Twitter here, and I can search for, let's just search for money tips. I have never run this before. And let's see what we get. And let's look at all these different posts. A pretty cool idea. The bank for those under 21. Okay, money tips. I mean, there's tons of people who just put money tips up there. There's probably finance tips, finance advice. There's so many things. And you can go in here and play around with it. And that's a great way to get exposure to a broader audience. You'll be somewhat limited if you don't use any hashtags on Twitter. Now, a good best practice for hashtags on Twitter is 2 to 3 hashtags. Don't make it, 8 hashtags, 10 hashtags, and your post itself is just illegible. Okay, those are some of my down and dirty, quick social media tips. I hope you found them helpful today. Obviously, we have performance coaching. This is a great time of year to be considering hiring a coach. We have an event February 4th. Myself, Stephen Boswell, Matt Oxley are presenting at that event. It's a ton of information. If you are in La Jolla, or if you can make it to La Jolla, don't miss it, February 4th and 5th. And then we have a bunch of upcoming webinar series. If you like some of the LinkedIn stuff I was showing you, you should join that LinkedIn Social Selling series on February 17th. It is an absolute deep dive into selling with LinkedIn, and we have a new series on Facebook selling where we will talk in depth about using Power Editor and things like that, all around using Facebook. We have it was 6 total coming up here. So call our office, go to oxley.com, explore it, connect with us on LinkedIn, on Twitter. If you try to connect with me on Facebook, I will not accept that unless I know you, and I am connected with some clients on Facebook. But again, hopefully you enjoyed it. And again, this is a thank you for all of you who took the time to complete that survey. We appreciate it. So bye for now.